Thank you very much for connecting here today. My name is Pascal Mezai. I'm one of the senior recruiter here at SUMAS, and I'm your host today for this session around the topic of sustainable fashion management. That would be more focusing on the talk by my colleague Laurent Maeder, specialist in a lot of different things, Cradle to Cradle being one, circular economy another one. And I'm sure we all will learn a lot, as I'm sure I will. So I'll give you just a quick presentation first hand of the school and what we do. So that would be a very short introduction. If you have any question, feel free to leave them in the chat. Also, you'll have either the chat or the Q&A button that will be at the bottom. So feel free to share any question you may have. Without further ado, I'll start with this quick presentation about SUMAS. For some of you, you may be very familiar already, as some of you have already applied to this program. We are one of the unique business schools that presents sustainability in business. There's for a large amount of time, sustainability was seen through the prism of only science. And for us, we see that perspective of business practices and moving the needle is a lot more effective, but it's also something that's very challenging. And we see a lot of innovation in this field, and that's why like the motto of the school, inspiring innovative leader, is very prominent in the way we want to inspire all of you guys to do better for you, for yourself, the planet, and your organization, to be innovative and critical thinker in what can be done in the business environment, and also to be a thought leader and trying to take the right step in creating a better future for everyone. So we have three main campuses. You may be familiar with the Swiss campuses here in Gland, where I'm based at the moment, at the core of the international conservation. You also have a campus in Milan that's been open for the last 2 years, where we'll be surrounded by innovation culture, obviously very prominent, also food culture and historical culture in Italy. And we also have this online campus to study wherever you want, whenever you want, at your own pace. So for the Swiss campus, it's really the heart of conservation, especially here in Europe and in Switzerland. We are surrounded by specialists such as the WWF, IUCN, Ramsar, the African Wildlife Fund. So there's really a lot of community around our students, our faculty, and around the school that are thought leader and really large employers in the field of conservation, sustainability. So definitely that create that bridge for a lot of our students, but that also create that initial environment where you can learn a lot from business professionals working efficiently in the field of conservation and sustainability. In Milan, you have a campus that's in the heart at the topic today, definitely. Milan being a very prominent fashion capital in the world. It's also where we are located in Via Tortona, which just down the road, you will have the main events from the Milan Fashion Week. You also have the Mudek Museum down the road, the Armani Silos just behind. We're also located in a place that have a lot of young mind, very innovative. And Milan is growing in Europe as a capital for sustainability. You see a vibrant example with this new tower that have been coming up in recent years. I would just mention that for those of you interested, for example, in Milan, there's an open day coming up this Saturday, April 30th, from 10 to 12 in the morning. So if you're interested, you can still visit our website, register, and you'll be able to visit the campus, but also have a guest lecture that would be taking roughly 45 minutes around the topic of jobs in sustainability by Dr. Gianluca Lanza, as well as a campus tour. So it's a great opportunity if you're interested to see the campus firsthand. For Switzerland, the next physical open day would then be June 3rd. So that's an event where you'll probably receive this communication in coming weeks. You'll have multiple programs and majors offered at the SUMAS. We'll focus on the undergraduate program and the graduate program that we offer on campus and online. In terms of program, we would have sustainability management as a main focus. in the general sense of things, which is maybe less niche, but really well-rounded business professional with the knowledge on sustainability and management, which is very important for us to create that well-rounded business profile. You also have more specialty programs such as sustainable fashion management, which we'll discuss at length today, sustainable hospitality management, tourism management, and sustainable finance and digital innovation. That's would be coming up in coming months. Then you will see this experience that you can expect from SUMAS, especially if you study on campus, which is a very practical approach through experiential camp, through learning experience, through project with companies. It's really a great incentive being with a business school and focusing on how do you actually implement all the knowledge you have acquired, because that's really where I think our teachers excel. It's through the experience that they've accumulated and that they can share their knowledge, their experience, the good thing, the bad thing, so you don't replicate the same mistake, but also you can go a bit further on their success. In terms of program, the first one I'd like to present is the bachelor. So the bachelor is a 3-year full-time program, fully in English, with main intakes in February and September. So it's focusing around this topic that we have seen. And each year you'll have an experiential camp, company's project, and presentation, which allow you to get very practical knowledge and expertise. In terms of courses, I'm not going to read all of those. I'll give you a second to read through this. Even if it's really small, if you have any question, I'll be happy to go in a bit more detail, or any of my colleagues that you've been in touch would be happy to give you a full roundup of these courses. But you see it's divided on core courses, finance, leadership, experiential, as well as the specialty courses. So the core, all the first gray line, everyone would be taking it. So you'll be benefiting from that general knowledge in business. We're still a business school, so you'd learn business, but you'll have that additional layers that will go a bit deeper in sustainability, in management, and the topic you have selected, such as finance, fashion, tourism, or hospitality. We also offer a Master of Arts in Management, which would be 1 year fully on campus with 2 main intakes. It's February, September in semester. Otherwise, you can take it online, and that would take you 15 to 18 months to graduate on average, and up to 3 years if you decide to take it really at your own pace. Then you have 4 intakes, January, April, July, and October. And as we work for all the program on rolling admission, if you wish to join some of this program, you can still do so. For example, for the July intake, you still have time to join this program. Then the program offered at the master level are these 4: sustainability management, sustainable fashion, hospitality, and tourism management. Then to go a bit further, we'll have also an MBA, which would be under the same premises, 1 year full-time on campus, 15, 18 months online, up to 3 years with the same intakes. Then for this MBA, you would then have 5 main topics, which is the same 4 as previous for the master, plus sustainable finance. Finally, there's 2 more options for your studies with us, which would be the Certificate of Advanced Studies, which is a shorter program focusing only on the module of the MBA in sustainability. So through all the 5 courses that we do offer at this level. So this would help you to just get the knowledge on sustainability. Then you can go a bit further. We also offer a DBA, a Doctorate Business Administration. So this is a 3-year program, which is meant to be done at the same time as a professional career. You can start working on the research from the first day. We would ask you definitely to come up with a proposal before we get started, so we don't waste too much of your time on, I would say, discussing too much the project, but you'll have 1 year to kind of finalize what will be the topic before spending the subsequent 2 years on working on the solution we want to provide, conducting the research, gathering the data, and actually writing up and preparing defense on your doctorate. Finally, just one quick word on the career in sustainability. So I'll take the words of Laurent, that we had during the last open day. We're definitely not going to less sustainability in coming years. So I think this trend that you see with this reflected in these numbers, with more jobs in the green economy or in sustainability, it's something that would keep going up and probably at a more regular pace, I would say. I think it's definitely something that would keep growing. And in terms of job, there's a vast opportunity in terms of career that you can pursue. I would just highlight one, which obviously is the highest position, but that's the latest you can see on the slide, the Chief Sustainability Officer. I would say probably today, if you get started in the field of sustainability and business, it's a shortcut to that kind of C-level position, as probably there's not that many specialists in sustainability. There's a lot of experts, but I would say, yes, it's probably easier to become a chief sustainability officer with the right education than to become a CFO at the same company, as there's probably more accountants than experts, sustainable officer in the current world. Then we also offer different career paths, network, community, and partners that you'll be in touch throughout the length of your studies. You have projects, you have career events, we have a career week coming up if you follow us on our social network, and there's also personal career guidance and professional development offered. So there's a whole package and a great opportunity for all of you to find out more. So I'll leave it to that. If there's any question, feel free to add them in the chat. I'll be happy to answer, but I'd rather we spend a bit more time on discussing what sustainable fashion is about. And it's been really a buzzword in past years. I would say a lot of consumers are looking at more details, in more details about what they were actually doing, what they're actually consuming, and what they put in their body. So I think there's also a huge shift in finding out, like, what do we do with all this product, with all this recycling opportunity. And I think, Laurent, you'll have a lot more to say than I do. So I'll let you share all this, turn on your mic, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Perfect. I'm very happy to share with you some details on fashion. Just previously, as you said, I've been working in fashion. I worked in the textile industry for 25 years and discovered the circular economy in 2010. So I've been working on projects in circular economy on the textile industry and other industries since for more than 10 years now. And I do believe that circular economy is the right way to go. Basically, why do textile must take action or need to take action? We know that we are beyond a lot of planet boundaries. Since January this year, we had already overshooted 4 planet boundaries: climate change, biodiversity loss, land conservation, and nitrogen and phosphorus loading. And since January this year, we added as well chemical pollution. So if you think of textile industry and you look at those categories, you can tell that textile industry has huge impact and has a huge role to play if we want to tackle those issues. Definitely on climate change, textile industry needs a lot of resources, a lot of transportation, a lot of energy. So definitely climate change. Even if you use natural resources such as cotton, you need a huge amount of land. So land conservation and biodiversity loss, you do have a lot of impact on those. Everything that has to do with agriculture has problem with nitrogen. And definitely we will see that in the coming minutes, that textile industry has a huge impact when it comes to chemical pollution. Only if you take microplastic, we have studies now that shows that in all the phase of textile, from fiber to landfill or even to incineration, we do have a lot of release and transfer of microplastic in air, ocean, fresh water, and soil. So that shows how important it is to change and to redesign textile so that we can tackle and make sure that textile tomorrow won't have such a huge impact. And we do have a lot of calculation now, a lot of indicators that proves that we need to act and where we need to act in priority. For more than 20 years now, we had a lot of certification. In the textile industry, there are more than 400 different types of certification. Well, certification, if it's still very siloed, it's still been a little less bad, but it's definitely not enough. And that this is why I came into a circular economy. It's when I discovered that I was trying to do less bad and solve some problems in the supply chain, but then in the same times, between 2000 and 2015, the worldwide production doubled, meaning that we are overproducing and over-consuming, and we know that more and more products are lasting less and less, meaning that at the end, we have a huge impact and a huge amount of textile that are becoming waste much too fast. That report is very new from a Changing Market Foundation. You can go on Changing Market Foundation. You will find a lot of assessment on this report of certification, and you will see that it's brand new. It's last month that was published, and just the numbers gives us shows us how important it is to definitely look at fashion with a more sustainable way. It's as well an economic system. And today, we know that all the resources, raw resources, are increasing. Prices are very high, and they are getting higher and higher and higher. So using up too much resources is as well definitely an economical problem. So we see now the limit of that linear economy, and textile is definitely a good example of what linear economy means. Taking a lot of resources, making products, using them, and most of the product are transforming into waste. This is really that linear economy that creates a lot of problems. Moreover, when you buy a product, because of lack of transparency and complex value chain or supply chain, you don't see what is happening among the value chain. Water treatment or don't have enough water treatment, wrong chemicals getting into fresh water is not something that you see. Same that when you buy clothes, you don't figure out that we have a lot of landfill. And landfill basically leads to more pollution. Because when you have a landfill, textile will definitely biodegrade, and all the chemicals that are in the textile will go into the soil and into the water. So what we see when we see a huge amount of waste, it's plastic or textile, you know that what you see physically is just the peak of the iceberg, but you have all the chemical and all the micro pollutants that is much more important than what you really see. Interesting to see that the Chemical Agency of the European Commission this year or last December, they tested 6,000 products that they bought online. And on those products, out of 6,000 products, nearly 80% were not compliant with the chemical rules in Europe. And more important, around 2,060 products were or contain CMR, meaning chemicals that are cancerogene, mutagene, or toxic to reproduction. So what we buy online without any transparency, without knowing what and where those products are made, leads to importing chemicals that are harmful, that we wear, and that are disposed when we wash or when we landfill products. So now this is seen, and the EU Commission that will definitely lead the transformation or the transition, they come up with a EU Circular Economy Action Plan, and that was in March 2020, which is quite recent. And what they said is that worldwide, in the textile, it's estimated that less than 1% of all the textile are actually recycled. So we need to move. We cannot stay in that situation. And moreover, I'm talking a lot about chemicals, but definitely they have a chemical strategy because they want to have a Europe free of hazardous chemical in the air, in the water, and in the soil. So they came out last month with the plan for sustainable textile by 2030. This is what they want to have by 2030. So from a lot of talking, a lot of some certification, now textile industry must take action and move. You can look, I don't want to take too much time on the screen, but you can go on the EU Commission and look at the sustainable and circular textile by 2030. You will see that they would like textile to be more long-lasting. They would like textile to be made out of recycled material. They would like textile to be recyclable. They would like textile to be repairable. All what we want in the circular economy. So now this is the action plan, and this is what Europe wants for 2030, meaning in 8 years from now. And to achieve that, there's a huge amount of work. It's enormous if we want to achieve that by 2030. Just a few days later after this publication, in the fashion industry, a lot of magazines published a lot of items, a lot of articles. One is this is one of them, and they claim that yes, by 2030 in Europe, we are expecting to have reused filament. We want to have no toxic or problematic substances. They want to push eco-design. They want to push digital product passport for more transparency. And they want to extend the producer responsibility. Producers will be responsibility for the waste issues. And that's completely new, and that will get people and brands moving. We need to move if we want to fulfill with those expectations. So let's think about circular economy. Circular economy is always shown with that graphic, you know, going from technical loops. You try to repair, you try to reuse, you try to refurbish, and at the end, recycle for solid material. And on the other side, the bio loop for natural resources made product that should at one point be composted and back to nature. This is how it is framed usually when we talk about circular economy. So what does it mean concretely? How do we do that? We need to have this systemic approach, and this is what we are studying and looking at SUMAS. It's really that systemic approach. We need to have circular design. We need to look at production and processes. We need to change and to review business models. We need us, all consumers, to be more informed and to be able to act. If we want to repair, we need to have a place where we can bring our clothes to be repaired. If we want to bring that circularity, we need to have a take-back system. We need to have technology to transform material into new material. So all that are needed. If one is failing, then the whole thing is failing. Then we need to train, to educate, to sensibilize people, because we need as well a mindset change. Thinking that buying very, very, very cheap clothes that we never wear because we bought them because they are very cheap is the wrong mindset. So it's not only the industry that needs to change, not only the business model, not only all the technology, but we need to act differently as well and think differently. And that's that social transition that is important. Then politics, we just saw the EU Commission. Worldwide, there are new rules and regulation. And finally, finance. In the whole value chain, we need to be energy effective. And to make that happen, we need to collect and make sure that we have a lot of data. That's how we can tackle issues and look at fashion industry, but all industry with that systemic approach. It's no longer okay to just look at one process or one design. We need to look at the global situation and with all the shareholders. Interesting that there was a white paper published by Sanu de Habilitas on Digital Switzerland here in Switzerland, saying how digitalization will facilitate and accelerate the transition to circular economy. We are talking about passport for materials. We are talking about more data to make sure that we can have more information that will follow the product stream and the streams of materials. We need to have more transparency for the users because at the moment it's very difficult to know what you are buying. So more transparency that will be facilitated and help with technology. We have already a lot of technology, such as blockchain technology, that allows us to understand and to give information and to follow all the streams of materials into new materials. Now, with the current situation, with a lot of waste and wrong design, if we don't change the design, the only thing we can do is better waste management. Better waste management, meaning, for example, here, it's in Paris, a startup that is transforming waste, textile waste into bricks for decoration, different types. Again, this is because we have too much waste. So this is in the transition. Instead of burning or landfill, it's better to do something. But it's in the transition because we are just managing waste. Same, we can transform tennis ball into soles because we do have millions of tennis balls that are landfilled every year. Let's do something with that. If you think now, and this is very late, that was last week, I think, Nike is collecting, and they have a huge warehouse where they collect your old shoes in, and they will try to transform them into something new. So that was the latest update in April 2022. So it's very new. So you see that all the big brands are looking at what they can do. And they know that they have problem with waste. They know that they will be responsible for the waste they are creating. So they know that they need to act. So that shows that people are moving and brands are acting, which is quite interesting to see. In this transition, you can add design and transform any type of waste into fashionable product. That's an example with PETG in Italy. Same, you can transform plastic into new material and make them desirable. This is still the transition because we have too much waste. You can upcycle, take old sales, selling for boats to transform into bags, that is known, or you can try to recycle a lot of waste of textile. And in, for example, Renewcell, what they are doing, they are taking garments that have a lot of cotton, majority of natural resources, and they are able to split polyester, nylon, and natural resources and transform that into cellulose, what they called circulose. But again, all that it's in the transition because of wrong design. And all those aspects are quite complex. And again, it's only a minority of the global textile that is produced that is effectively collected and recycled. But all those technologies are existing, improving, and this is, according to the today's design, the best that we can do. Now, we need to change design, and we need to go into from waste management to resource management. And the only way to manage resources better is to change the design. So just a few examples of new design. For example, with new technology, you can do 3D printing. In that pictures, you have a bag that is monomaterial, 3D printed, made of TPU, meaning that as it is 3D printed, you can do a lot of great shapes, and you can do monomaterial, meaning that when you have only one material, it's much easier at the end of the life to shred again and to create new yarn to new bags again. So new technology can allow to help us and accelerate that transformation and do great design and great technicity in the use of the bags just because of the 3D printing. Another example in the watch industry, the first compostable strap made of green waste. From the beginning, that company, ID Watch in Geneva, from scratch, they started to do design with circular principle. Every single component is thought to be either from recycled material, recyclable, or compostable by design. Not an old watch that you do, but by design, everything is compostable, recyclable, or from recycled material. Take another example. We're talking about material. A brand like Question, great bag company from Switzerland, while they say is no plastic. So they wanted to great bags, very high quality, long lasting, but they don't want to use any polyester or polyamide. They said no plastic. So over the year, they developed that banana tex, which is 100% natural fabric that is very durable. And with this bag, you can use it for years and for years and for years. And it is made from banana tree. And when it comes to banana tree, they are not using banana that produce fruit, but a variety called abaca, variety of tree that is not producing food, but fibers. So with the fibers not competing with the food system, they were able over the year, it took a lot of years to achieve that quality. They could develop bags out of natural material that are fully compostable at the end of the life. But the life is very long and they can repair, you can use it for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. It's a very long lasting bags made with renewable material that is bio-based. So we see a lot of initiative. I just took a few examples, but there are hundreds of initiatives, and we need to push for initiatives. We need a lot of different solutions. You don't have one solution that fits all situations. And it's interesting to see hundreds of young companies, small companies, startups going in that direction that put pressure on the big companies as well. And big companies and big groups are now moving. An example from Cradle to Cradle, which is one of the leading program for circular economy. And a good example in the textile industry is a project for Napa Prigi. And this certification has 5 criteria: material health, design out of waste, and design out phasing out all hazardous chemical. We have an indicators on product circularity, clean air on climate protection, water and soil stewardship, and social fairness. To achieve this certification, you need to tackle all those 5 issues. An example, Napa Prigi, that jacket has been designed according to the cradle-to-cradle and circular economy principle, meaning that if you look at this jacket is made out of polyamide that is recycled from fisher net. And looking at the value chain to create those products, 47 suppliers had to be convinced and participated. Why? Because as I explained, and I told you that systemic approach, you go from assembling tier 1 and to fabrics and trim, and then to yarn, and then to molding, meaning that you have to evaluate and you have to have the entire value chain from resource transformation, tools, manufacturing, to make sure chemicals, to make sure that you can achieve that product that is gold certified on Cradle to Cradle. So it seems to be a lot. But if you think about all the fabrics that comes from different yarn coming from different resources, and all the treatment, all the chemical, and all the ingredient that you need to make one product, you end up with 47 suppliers that participate to that product. So this is complex. Complex value chain needs complex action and systemic approach. At the end, how we did that is taking care of the production, looking at the product and design, helping them with good marketing to explain and change consumer behaviors, make sure that there is an organized take-back system to transform those jackets back into new material at the end of life cycle, and making sure that actually we can disassemble and create a new yarn and new fabrics with the jacket that are themselves made out of recycled material. So we are not recycling, we are trying to cycle in multiple loops. And this is the big difference between some recycled material and Cradle to Cradle. Cradle to Cradle aims to cycle, not recycle, but cycle, make multiple loops with the same resources, keeping resources as long as possible in the economical system and reusing the resources as long as possible on the market. And to do that, this is why I was talking about 47 companies and factories, because you go from tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, and you assess the global value chain, chemical, energy, water, social, and you do that on the entire value chain, 47 factories that had to be optimized. So this is what for me, this is it for me today. It was just a very short overview of the complexity of sustainability in the fashion industry, to explain that this textile industry is moving, but needs to be and move faster and further. And definitely that to tackle fashion industry and sustainability transforming into circular economy, you need to have that systemic approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that's very detailed in some aspect. There's definitely some question that were raised during this session. So as a reminder for everyone, if you have any question about what you've just seen, please put them in the comment and I'll be sure to raise them. So I'll just start with one of the questions that was asked a moment ago about, let me just put it back. First, there was someone that was thanking you for actually going into details of providing example from local brand and from brand in general to see what is actually happening in that field. What are some of the players doing? There was one thing, one question that was raised by, well, an anonymous attendee. So thank you, anonymous, for this. But that was about the whole thing. Like that was saying, like, since most of the brands have production facilities in Southeast Asia, well, not only, but yeah, a lot of them do have there. Don't you think it would be complicated to implement all this aspect, as it's really difficult to pull out legitimate data from developing countries?
Yeah, I think this is the wrong thinking. You know, actually, the Napapriji project was made in Asia, and I personally worked 25 years in Asia. So you can and you do have a very valuable factories over there, and things are moving, and you can collect a lot of information. And if I think it's important to have both re-industrialization in Europe, to relocate industry in Europe, and you can see that in France. I think this is very important. I think that it would be a wrong thinking to think that everything that comes from Asia is wrong. That's not the case, very not the case, and it's definitely possible to have great collaboration with factories around the world, and collect information and transform things in the right direction.
I think I'll just push the point on the legitimate data aspect to it and what they report in the effort that are reported, just because I was reading one thing, you know, about all this effort, for example, big brands such as H&M, Zara are making, we're still talking big companies where they have production elsewhere, and I'm not sure like they are the best example of circular economy and best practices, despite the best efforts in marketing to advertise this way. And I'm not sure if that legitimate data from developing countries is coming from this country, or it's coming from the brands that are actually not really making this effort.
No, actually, when we do, especially when I showed you it's called Cradle, we collect the data, not the brands, because we collect data that brands cannot have. If you go to a factory and you want to have all the ingredients in the dye stuff, the brands won't have that information, because this is R&D, and this is not something that is open to everybody. With a third party that we are, when we act as Cradle with API Switzerland, we have that information that we don't disclose to the brands. So we guarantee that the information that we go and get the information is accurate. So it's not the brand, it's not information that we receive from the brand, is we go and audit factories, and from the factories we get all the data.
Okay.
On the NDAs.
Okay, clear enough. So that's one less partial way of collecting to actually have a real picture of what's happening in the field, in the factory. There was another question from Ethel that was saying, like, most of the technologies that were used must be IP protected, so intellectual property protected. So how do you think it will impact the sustainable transformation of fashion industry, and what can be done to make these technologies more widely available and affordable?
It's a good question. It's a difficult point. What we do believe that, and that's a bit what we try to do with circular economy, is to have competition on a lot of things, but not on the fact that materials are safe. And I understand that, you know, when you're a brand, let's say Napapriji, they use that fabric that is made out of from fish nets. They are not the only one. They are not the only one who are using this fabric, and they will never be alone, and they will not get any exclusivity. So the goal is really to, and that might be sometimes difficult, is to make sure that when you have a new technology, that it is available for all the brands. It's not always like that. It's difficult. Sometimes it's expensive. If you take this brand from Napapriji, it is definitely expensive, but it's like everything. You start with the premium, and then going from premium. When you have more and more and more production, you can reduce the cost and then make it available for less premium item. But it's interesting when you were saying about H&M or the big brands, that even though if they do effort on the manufacturing, we need to change the business model. If you looked at the EU Commission and the vision for 2030, they said clearly, fast fashion is not the model of tomorrow. And that's the most difficult, because what I explained and showed on the numbers with the figures is that yes, you can reduce the use of water, you can do a little better there and there and there and there. But if we continue to overproduce, then we overproduce, overconsume, and we have too much landfill, and we'll never be able to adapt and to have enough technology to cycle all those products. So we need to change, and even the fast fashion, all those companies need to change their business model, which might be the most complex things.
Definitely when you have a collection a month, that's kind of a different model than what fashion houses have been historically built on. I'll play a bit devil's advocate on this in saying that we mentioned Zara, Inditex in general, H&M as part of this fast fashion, but consumer also have a part to play in this well, obviously not on the production part, but on the use of what we make, on obviously buying pieces that we would not wear in 6 months, in a year, let's say, based on trend and based on availability. You can wear the same t-shirt from H&M without it being fast fashion, or the same jacket or whatever. I had this discussion with someone that was saying, like, I buy only from slow fashion brand, but if you buy slow fashion brand twice a month, that's also not serving the purpose.
But that's lead. I just saw a remark from the Q&A and from the chat, saying that unfortunately the consumer is paying for the sustainability. Yes, the goal is that people are consuming less, so you buy less but better. That's it's like the same with food or everything. You buy less but better. You cannot be sustainable if we continue to have over 30% of garments that are never worn once. Okay.
Yeah.
So of course, at the end, if you do everything right, if you pay people correctly, if you don't damage the environment, if you have all the processes correctly, definitely you cannot have a t-shirt at $2. Not possible. What you can find now to Shein, that is even much cheaper than H&M and all those guys. It's not possible.
Not so under that business model.
It's not the right business model. They can do reporting, they can do whatever. It's not possible. So at the end, you have to find the right balance price, affordable for people, but not too cheap so that people buy tons just because it's cheap. Yeah. So yes, definitely, sustainable products that are made with care are more expensive than if you throw your bad chemicals in the nature and you don't treat anything. Definitely, processes are more expensive, and products are more expensive, but not that much.
Yeah, it's a small increment.
It is.
I'll take another question. So thanks for the detailed answer on this. There was one more question. From Rose, Felix, can you tell us more about projects you have developed so far with fashion companies, partners, like the one you showed on Napabrigi, for example? Anything you'll have in mind in store for us to share?
Well,
you can actually share.
Actually, all the example that I shown are company that I'm in contact with, so definitely a lot. But I am as well right now a member of a commission for the EU Commission that is designing new indicators to have more transparency and new indicators for the consumers. So that's something that I cannot give you the details, but this is running that will be running for the next 2 years. And with Cradle, we as well have a few big projects with quite big companies where we do the assessment of chemical and circularity. So it shows that again, this is something that will be disclosed by the brands in 1 or 2 years, but I can tell you that a lot of things are moving.
Just for context, because I've heard you discuss Cradle to Cradle previously. Mm-hmm. Just in short, for those that don't know what Cradle to Cradle is, even though you presented briefly what it was, it's a label, it's a process system. How you describe it?
Yeah, it becomes, because industry, when they act, they want to have a reward. So it became a certification model. And I'm always careful with certification, because all certification can be, can have issues. But the root of that circular economy started a little bit with Cradle in the 80s, late 80s. And at the beginning, it was really tools to have a roadmap to never-ending improvement going into circular economy. Because if you want to have the perfect product, circular and everything, it will take 10 or 15 years, okay? 10 years maybe. So the goal at the beginning was really to have a guideline kind of with indicators, to have milestones, to have an objective, and to have a roadmap to circularity. And now it became a certification model where you have those 5 criteria, but Cradle was a bit the origin of the circular economy.
Thank you for the clarification.
Back in the 80s already.
Yes. All right, I'll take another question that was in the chat for Navanita Bhaskar that just left that question. Would there be an effect on the globalization-based economy of we do aim for a circular model? I think that you touched quickly on this about relocating the localization of the plants and all this.
That's definitely something that is needed. We see how dependent we are on resources. So if you better use the resources and you can cycle, the first thing is to close the loop, and then is to narrow the loop. To make sure that we don't add transportation or too many transportation. We know that with new technology as well, you reduce the cost of production. Even in Europe, you can see the example with 3D printing, for example. 3D printers, when you can do things with printers, then you don't need to have that very far away. So I think we will have both. You continue to have mass production that are located worldwide, but we will see as well relocalization of production in the coming years, and both are needed, I think.
Yeah, I think it works both ways in what we do and where we do it. There was, well, thank you for this one. There was another question. Changing consumers' mindset is a big challenge. Definitely. What do you see should be done here, and which are the actors, company, government, that would need to take responsibility?
Yeah, that was what I was trying to explain or express with my 8 systemic approach. It's from both sides. When we see you have pressure from the EU Commission, from the politics, that put pressure on the brands, but then when you have people on the street claiming for better production, that puts as well pressure on the brands. So it's from all directions. What I believe in is communication and transparency. I'm working on some project as well with blockchain technology to make sure that we have complete transparency on resources and flow of material. That will be done with a QR code, or maybe tomorrow another kind of another system. What we do know is that with the young generation, it will be very difficult to tell them, I cannot give you any information. 20 years ago, it was easy. You said, well, the size of the label in the garment, I cannot put that much information. So it was easy, to get away from transparency because of that. And you didn't have a website or anything. So it was the only information you could get is on the care label, which is very limited. Difficult to say now to somebody, I cannot give you the information. We know that tomorrow with those technology, with a QR code or anything, you have unlimited information that you can give. So I believe that transparency will help people to understand the whole value chain and the whole thing. And it starts with education. Start with education in the class, in what we do now, webinars, communication. It's a long journey. Difficult. The mindset change is a very long journey. And maybe influencers, try to ask influencers to have more influencers influencing in better consumption rather than just influencing on buying every day a new thing because you think it's cool. So what is the new cool?
Yep. Well, with the money that Shein is spending on influencer, I think it's a tough battle.
It is.
It's a tough battle. There was a follow-up question also from Valentin that was in this context that we have at the moment. Well, there's actually two or three questions that rely on greenwashing. One was asking, how can greenwashing be stopped? Another one from Lana that was asking, how can consumer know real circular initiative and from greenwashing? So it's really like, how can we tell what's really being done and what's just being advertised?
Today, I must say that it's quite difficult. The only thing I can tell is ask question. Sometimes, you don't on the website, and all the website of all the brands on the world have a sustainability report and everything. Send a mail to ask question. Try to get more and more and more information on the one brand, and then you can trust one brand better than the other one. But it takes time. You have to look for information. It's very, very difficult, even for me. 400 different type of label certification. To understand what is the scope of the 400 certification takes time. Definitely very difficult for consumers, but the only thing you can do today is take time and try to look at brands rather than just looking at what product, trying to understand the philosophy of the brands. We know that a few brands have that philosophy, are trying to move in much better production. Try to get informed and find information. But you don't have one label that guarantee you that everything is perfect.
Not yet, at least.
Unfortunately, not yet.
Yeah, that's what the European Commission is trying to kind of put a cap on slowly on different aspects by forcing a bit on the reporting and indicators, as you mentioned, from what you were saying, like having more indicators to be actually fed to the customers, so we can kind of see, okay, where's the effort lies between this and this company.
Yeah, and and it's easier when you have local brands. Local brands, I know them. I know a few of them. You know everything because you know the brand, and it's small. And when it's small, it's easy to do well when you are small. When you have a huge company, you have so many value chains, so many suppliers, that even though you want to do better, it's very, very, very difficult to have a control of all your production. So smaller brands have more control of the production.
Yeah.
And more local brands have are easier to check.
Yeah, for sure. When you have like 47 suppliers and people intervening in production of one garment, it definitely makes it more complicated to manage everyone's aspect and what they use in the production.
Yeah.
There was another question on pricing that was saying like, shouldn't the brands be capped by government to keep pricing control? Like, do you think, for me, I had actually a question for you. That was, do you think regulation is the way forward to kind of pressure everyone in doing the right thing?
It's one. It's not the only tool. I would rather have a mindset change and change coming from the manufacturers and from but that we are in a very liberal world, and too much liberty leads to not self-management. So you need to have regulation and rules. You definitely need. We saw that, you see the last 20 years, and you see textile industry and fashion, the quantity of amount of waste and wrong chemicals and all that. You can tell that this industry is not self-controlled. So you need to have some regulation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the question about the price, there was another answer that was following on this from Joel that was saying, well, if companies sell less but they actually sell them, I mean, if they put less on the market but they actually sell them, then there's definitely not that much waste, or at least less cost of production that would be generated, which I think it's a fair point. If you produce, I work when I was in Asia as well with some people that have local brands, and definitely they pretty much made for sale. They would not produce anything that's not going to sell, so they would just have like one handbag, and the handbag is made. You order it, they make it for you. They can customize it, and well, obviously the price was what you tailor, but definitely there's on mass production. I think that's a fair point. That's saying if we put less in the market, then there's less waste. There would be less sale, and there would be less things going into nowhere. Or so I think that's also one way instead of capping the price.
Yeah, and it's yeah.
He had a follow-up question. I think it was one of the report, and I've seen that that was one of the. There was something, I think maybe in your second slide, there was a report on textile that was mentioned.
Yep.
Would you have the name? Because that was a question that I've had. So I can.
It was the Changemaker Foundation, and the report was called the right to greenwash or something like that, but it's on the website of that foundation.
Okay, I'm just going to type it, the right to greenwash, and if I find the link, I'll try to put it somewhere.
Oh, I will give you the link on my slide.
Yeah, well, there was. I'll use this opportunity to remind everyone that this session being recorded. You'll be provided with a link if you want to replay it later on. So yeah, I will try to send you that link as well for the report if you want to go.
So yes,
deeper.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the link is easy to find, and the link is on the slide, so people are free to read it. Exactly. Thank you, Valentina.
So there was. Oh yeah, perfect.
License to greenwash. Exactly.
Okay, awesome. Thanks you, Valentina. That was perfect. Daphne had a question. In some company where garment and sole could be recycled and shredded into fiber and yarn to remake, example in wool, it has been used to make chips, and this recycled, no color required again. Yeah, I think that was also one thing that you were showing with the 3D printing, is building better garment, having more renewables. Actually, this technology, there's something I wrote because we're focusing on, well, the waste made on fashion is literally more on the after sale, but there's also like all this way of having better design or better materials also that come into play.
Yeah, you need to change the design and the materials. Otherwise, if you don't, but you know, the big problem, one of the big problems in the textile industry is that materials are blended. 90% of the materials are cotton blend with polyester. Okay, so when you blend polyester and cotton, natural resources with plastic, with polymer, it's very difficult to split at the end of the life cycle. So we need to change the design. We need to change the material. So the example of Napaprigi is polyamide, so it's 100% polyamide. So easy to cycle the new polyamide because it's 100% polyamide. Even the swing threads and everything, except for the zippers. Yeah. But if you remove the zippers, it's only one material, it's polyamide. If you look at banana tex, it's 100% banana fibers. You don't have any plastic blend. If you take some example that we had as well with cotton, you have to change the cotton, you have to change the dye stuff, and you have to change the swing thread and the trims, the labels, to make sure that everything is biodegradable. It's in the bio loop. And today, most of the t-shirt, even if the fabric is 100% cotton, the sewing thread might be in polyester. Yeah. So already you create a problem with the sewing thread. So we have examples where we change everything, and everything is changed to bio loop or techno loop, but don't mix the different loops. And that's by design. It's possible. Technology is there, and we have great examples. But it takes some courage to change the design.
Yeah, well, it takes one person to actually take make that call and say, well, let's try it, let's make it, and then see how it works. Because definitely, well, it could work. As you say, technology is not there, and that's also what we see across the board in sustainability. Is just the impact of innovation and technology has been prominent in all this renewables and having all this coming together to create better materials, better options out there. So there's a few more questions, not really so much, but there was, yeah, Rose, I'm getting to your question because I saw you ask it. Could you please share with us what kind of fashion collaboration SUMAS has developed so far with companies? It'd be interesting to know, considering the master, if you have a specific fashion partner for the next semester. So I just typed one, which was Candiani, where we did this actually with students. We had this visit of their factory. So it's a jean company based in Milan. Student had this experiential camp, and we did a visit with them to actually see. Candiani it's a family business. It's also going back to what we were discussing, Laurent, a bit earlier, is smaller companies can have better control of their supplier and actually handpick the one they want to work on. So I put this page just so you have an idea, but in general, we would try at least to have project with different companies. So Candiani was one, that was last year. For this year, I'm not sure who would be in the loop for this, but there's always a very practical aspect to what we do. So we work with partners in different fields, whether it's hospitality, business management, fashion, tourism. So students from actually all majors have that exposure, and not only from their industry, because their solution that you can see apply in one industry that could definitely apply in another one is just people, maybe they've not used it yet. So that's one way to get additional exposure. So you can have a look at this company, and you'll see in coming weeks, we also have new emails coming through with a project that we have conducted. So we had IKEA recently in Milan. We had Candiani last year. We work also with some of the partners we have here close to our office, WWF, Procter & Gamble as well, where we have some project on a lot of their range of product, whether it's cleaning product or toothpaste we had, I think, last year. So there's a vast range. And there was another question that was, I think that could be for both of us, Laurent, which is the opportunities available for students once they graduate from SUMAS. So which pretty much would be, what can you expect if you graduate from sustainability management degree at the moment?
Well, not only textile, but all industries now have to take a move. So this is definitely. I wouldn't have said that 5 years ago, but we see now that every single company has to do something. So definitely being trained and educated in circular economy or in sustainability in general is definitely a good move, in addition to other things.
Yes, well, there's a lot, as we discussed in that side talk we had after the physical open day we've had, is definitely not only in fashion, but having discussed with people in bank, in finance, in, I would say, science related company, in pharma, everyone is actually have to do something in sustainability now. Either, as mentioned, by government regulation, authority regulation, or simply because the consumer is also having a final say on what they buy and what they decide on buying. So definitely they are actually pushing companies in doing so.
Well, for economical reason as well. You know, today in Switzerland, you have a lot of work construction that is stopped because lack of resources. So we do have a problem with resources that now we see. We are dependent on a lot of countries that we know, and prices of resources is going very high. So taking care of resources is an economical issue for tomorrow. So it's not just being good citizen or good company. It's to be there in the future.
Yeah. Definitely that's value for the future as well, for everyone. I see like one of the comment that's saying like we should start sustainability education by integrating school curriculum, since mindset is easier to cultivate from young. Yes. and we are part of this since a few years ago, because SUMAS is one of the partner from the International Baccalaureate. It's something that we have already implemented in more than 15 schools already for this year. So students that would then graduate high school have done at least 2 years, and that include topic on fashion, on hospitality, and sustainability in general. So that is also something that we do provide at high school level, from countries such as Thailand. I think we have one in Cambodia, Switzerland, in Geneva. So definitely there is additional incentive for students to start early. And there are schools as well that are keen on developing this, simply because it's also the taste of their teacher, and they have an appetite for creating this project. I think it's also a fun project that you can create with kids around sustainability and waste management. I see my daughter is very keen on that as well. So that give you an additional push when you hear like you should not don't put this in that trash, that doesn't go in that trash. So yeah, kids are getting ahead of us in that kind of education. So it is digestible for the young, and that's also one thing that works. So, but yeah, starting as young as possible is definitely one way to create.
Sure. The good thing is that you know, for a very long time we had report from GIEC, and it was very difficult to read if you are not a scientist. But today you have a lot of organizations that are taking those reports and turning them into cartoons or gaming, and very easy to read. So you have an understanding of what is the GIEC and how this report is done and how the calculations are done, without being a scientist. And I think that this move from completely science to more vulgarized documents, to make sure that large public, even kids, can really understand in kind of a gaming or cartoon way, is very important. We need to make it easy to understand. And for a very long time, those reports were in a club of scientists. Nobody could understand. It's still the case if you try to read the 6,000 pages, but now from those 6,000 pages, you have extraction that have a shorter report of a few hundred pages that are okay to read if you are already an expert in sustainability. But then from that, now you have extraction with a few pages with design and cartoons and things like that, and a lot of gamings that are coming. And I believe that in gamings, you know, how to explain to kids or to people with simple things, what is the situation and how is the situation.
Yes, definitely. So I think we are a bit overstepping our time. So I'm sorry, I see like 1 or 2 additional question. Anyway, I'll ask you guys if you have any additional question. You can direct them to myself or my colleague Benjamin, Anushka, or Nicoletta in Milan that you've been in touch with, or anyone you have been in touch with in our team. We'll be happy to help. I'll just reply that one last because I've answered it, but maybe you missed it, Hannah. It's the recording would be made available for everyone. So feel free to check in coming days. You should receive the recording from this session, and you can replay it as much as you want and get a bit more additional content. So I'll be happy to talk to you again, everyone. Laurent, pleasure once again.
Pleasure.
So thank you very much all for attending. We'll be concluding this session and looking forward to talk to everyone soon. Bye-bye.